proud.
I am so excited to be here. This is so dope. And if you know me, you know that is my
highest score.
Yeah, that is like up here. So this first piece I'm going to share is very near and dear to my heart. So I didn't grow up. I grew up like normal artists grow up, poor, broke, homeless, broken, and then I started living in my truth and being everywhere, and all of the people who knew me then are trying to keep me there. And so I wrote this piece titled Unwrapped, in regard to unwrapping yourself from the layers that other people put you in because of where you come from, where you've been, mistakes you've made, and all of that. So stop trying to keep me wrapped in the same package you found me in. I've outgrown it. I am not her anymore, and you know it. But it keeps you comfortable. The way you keep me stored in your mental, the same timid little girl trying to fit into a world where her hair was either too good or too greasy, and her skin either too light or too dark to sit next to you at school or to play with you at the park. And see, now that I've grown, I've evolved, I've come to recognize that your bite was nothing compared to your bark. And as a child yourself, you are the product of an environment that failed to teach you to love thyself, and I hope you're better than that now. But thank you, because those days I wanted to skip class to steer clear of the laughs from my lack of trendy clothing, and shoes that kind of folded eventually became the essence of my struggle, and I'm inspired by that. I became inspired by sleepovers with invitations never found me, by the taunting laughter that succeeded to bound me, by the ridicules and backhanded compliments that I was too young to identify as sarcasm. See, I turned that negative energy into the muscle spasms that caused my fingers to twitch to create masterpieces called poetry.
Yeah, you go.
All right. Unwrap me. See, I'm not that pretty young tender that you discover doesn't love herself enough to respect her temple, so you follow suit and contribute to the insecurities of a young girl dealing with the rejection from a father who never even cared to show his face. I am not her. And now that I've grown, I've evolved, I've come to recognize that the only reason I laid with you unprotected repeatedly was under the false pretense and an unspoken promise for you to love me. Because you weren't just fitting inside of me. You were filling a void, and I was treading through waters in a world that was so much bigger than the package I had unintentionally wrapped myself in. See, I'm not that high school dropout or the teenage girl that had a baby. And I am not the same shell of a woman that allowed your hands to hate me. And I ain't the same broken pieces that couldn't even report that you raped me. Unwrap me from this torn and ragged box that you found me in, and drape cloth imprinted with poetry onto my thickened skin, and watch me as I raise my children and I cover them in a love without conditions, and as I demand your respect and your attention by spitting transparent facets of my life in poetic form, and as I get to know parts of me I have never known before. Unwrap me and bear witness to my growth as the packaging, the layers I've chosen to wrap myself in give birth to this beautiful, black, God-fearing queen that basks in her worth. Unwrap me. And don't you dare repackage me until I say so. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So this piece is featured in my second collection, shameless plug, my second collection of poetry titled There Is Substance Here. This was inspired by black women always having to be strong, always happen to be the superwoman. I hate that term. You're superwoman. Like, it's not a compliment. I don't want to be your superwoman all the time. So this is entitled I Am Not. In this moment, I am not your superwoman. I am not the definition of strength. My resilience has gone astray, and I cannot stay where you tend to try and keep me. I struggle with where to lay down my burdens, this overwhelming load that weighs down upon this thorn crown that you have subconsciously placed upon my head. There is sadness here. And although it only resonates as anger, I am not angry. My scowl is not the representation of an angry black woman. I have been misidentified. And this stigma that society has placed upon my sisters and I is unforgiving and relentless. I am sad, upset, and tearful. And as a black woman, I am standing here trying to comprehend what you are asking of me. Why must we always be defensive in regard to your need to differentiate anger from sadness? I am not blue. I am a black woman suffering from clinical depression, and there is a lesson here. My illness is not taboo, nor is it a sign of weakness, but I tend to not seek treatment because I've been sworn to secrecy. I mean, what happens in this house stays in this house. And unbeknownst to our mothers who have subconsciously hindered the desire to seek help for our troubles, we struggle with distorted images of ourselves because mental health issues are taken to heart, and of the 17 to 20 million Americans that seek therapy, I am one of 4% that would never take part. No, I have never been to war per your definition of the term, but I am a black woman who suffers from post-traumatic stress, from having to bear witness to the judicial lynching of my people in this 21st century. I have watched little black boys lay in puddles of their own blood, uncovered. I've watched women of my likeness be murdered. I have had to praise a black man with the same breath I used to beg him to not rape me, degrade me, or make me feel less than I deserve. I am raising little black babies that I am afraid to send to the store. I've locked myself behind closed doors in fears of facing the world in which I live, and on some days I've had to find the strength to physically move my limbs. I am a strong black woman who has contemplated suicide. I've hidden the scars of self-inflicted wounds beneath the seams of tapered clothing that insinuate that I am holding it together just fine, when sometimes I can't even breathe because it seems as if the darkness is closing in on me. I am indeed the epitome of everything that I am meant to be, but in this moment, I am not your superwoman. I am not the definition of strength. My resilience has gone astray, and I cannot stay where you tend to try and keep me. And it is okay for me not to always be okay, because I am not your fucking superwoman. Yeah. Alright, so this last piece, in my house, I was the only nerd, the only writer, the only creative, and in my house there was only a dictionary and my mother's Harlequin romance novels to read. So I was reading these romance novels and a dictionary. So yeah, 12 years old, my mom was like, what the hell are you writing? But it was very sensual. I had a very way with words. It was never raunchy. I would say something and it would take people a minute to be like, what is she doing? So I have Cheyenne here with me, and this is so impromptu. I was like, hey girl, can you play something behind me? She's like, sure. So to set the mood, I don't even have to set the mood, this will do it for y'all. And this is featured, another shameless plug, this is featured in my debut collection, Love Relentlessly. And all three of my collections are available on Amazon. Just search Robin G Poetry. All right, I gotta get sexy. Standing downtown with you, ain't nobody else around but you. Dark skies have replaced sunlight and precipitation has joined our anticipation of it just being us two. Side street and parked cars with no passengers, just a little bit off in the cut, smiles and nervous laughter, speaking on matters that have no real meaning. A distraction from an attraction that seems to have us both fiending. Dampened locks from raindrops have become entangled in your fingertips, and my teeth have begun to slowly sink into my lips. Gazes locked, making eye contact that speaks volumes without really saying shit. Yeah. I hear your thoughts, and it's like you hear mine too. Subconsciously, red bricked walls have become our backdrop, and the rain hasn't backed off and becomes the theme music to the scene, accusing us to be lovers that have loved one another before, when in fact we never have. Aside from our last brief meeting, we'd never seen this. I mean, it's like I've seen inside of your soul through your lips. No kiss, just conversation. And as we stand here in the rain, backed against dampened brick walls, contemplating our first kiss, it all seems so familiar. And when our lips touch, when they breathlessly brush across one another, we both gasp. We are startled. There's a fire that has started, a flame that has never existed within a kiss amongst the almost strangers. And damn, this shit is dangerous.